Deterioration. Deterioration. This is a phenomenon in which quality or performance is impaired by physical changes or other factors, or in which performance declines relatively due to the emergence of superior products as a result of technological innovation. In the case of living organisms, including humans, it is called aging, but it is also sometimes used for celebrities. If you look up the word in a dictionary, you will find it expressed this way, but what meaning do you use it to mean? This is a horror story about such deterioration. The value of a painting, a photograph, or anything else is diminished when it is reproduced. An original has meaning and unique value in its own right, but a copy is just that, a copy, an imitation. This is also true for digital data. As images and video are duplicated, compressed, and reformatted over and over again, the quality of the image gradually deteriorates, noise is introduced, and the original image is gradually lost. By the time thousands or tens of thousands of copies are made and distributed, the image may not even retain its original form. As they are copied, their value declines. I thought it was a matter of course, without needing to explain. Mr. Tayama, pseudonym, runs a certain occult-related website. I met Mr. Tayama at an offline meeting of an occult-related bulletin board. I often post on that bulletin board, where people interested in the occult and urban legends exchange information and scary stories with each other. There were about a dozen people at the offline meeting, and among them, I remember that I was on a strange wavelength with Mr. Tayama and was naturally drawn to him. I found myself talking with Mr. Tayama alone for hours, while hardly speaking to any of the other participants. Looking back, I think I might have been attracted to his something at that time. When I asked him, "Do you have any spiritual experiences when you write articles on the occult, or is there anything you pay attention to?" When I inquired out of curiosity, Mr. Tayama replied with a light laugh, "Well, I'm not psychic, so I don't have any connection to that kind of thing." He looked as if he was thinking for a moment, and then he said, "I'm not psychic, so I don't have any experience with that kind of thing." He then pauses, and says, "But there was one odd thing." His voice was a little different from the light tone he had been using up to that point. "I told you that you should be a little careful about reproducing images." I listened to his words. It's true that copyright and compliance issues are getting stricter these days. Mr. Tayama chuckles bitterly. Well, there is such a thing, but I'm not talking about that, is dangerous. If you republish images carelessly, there is a possibility that something strange may be attached to them. Especially, images with degraded quality. With a serious expression on his face, Mr. Tayama began to tell his story. Several years ago, Mr. Tayama was working on an article. The theme of the article was a compilation of the most frightening images on the internet. He said, there are a lot of them. The threads like, "Let's put up some really bad pictures on the www." Threads like that. The ones that summarize those kinds of things. The images that became popular on 2ch, Futaba-chan, and other bulletin boards in the early 2000s are collected and organized into articles. If the image quality was poor, he would find a high-resolution version that was as close to the original as possible and replace it with a new one. The process is repeated. However, for one image in particular, I could not find anything but a rough image. It was like a mosaic, so you couldn't even tell what was in the picture. But that's what made people think it was scary. The images had been re-uploaded many times, with different file names, and the image quality was all badly degraded. I had no choice but to save the best version and tried to use it in an article at that moment. I felt a presence behind me. I can't explain it in words, but it felt like something was definitely there. It was very close too. There should be no one in the room. The most important thing to remember is that the best way to get the most out of your money is to make sure that you are getting the best value for your money. I was left with a strange feeling of heavy air, like I was suffocating, but after about 10 minutes, it disappeared as if nothing had happened. I thought it was probably just my imagination, so I finished the article as it was and published it. After that, nothing strange happened. The image did not appear in my dreams, nor did I get sick. The feeling that something was watching me continued for a while. So, a few months after that event, I happened to have a chance to meet a psychic. He was introduced to me by a friend and said he was someone I could trust. Tayama said he told him about the incident in a light-hearted manner. Then he said, with a look of amazement on his face, perhaps it was the degraded images. He said, it's probably because of the degraded images. I couldn't help but ask. Because the image quality is bad? Yes. Usually, the more data deteriorates, the less value it has. But it seems that the opposite is true when it comes to curses and impurities. According to the psychic, curses are layered. Fear, discomfort, disgust, and other emotions of those who come into contact with the image cling to it like static electricity, accumulating over time. In the case of actual objects and tools, it is said that the older they are and the more they have been handed over to many people, the stronger their magical power is, and this is also true of digital data. The same is true of digital data. Images that have been reprinted many times, viewed by many people, disliked, and feared by many people will possess something far more powerful than the initial image. A degraded image is proof that many people have seen it. That's why they are possessed by the image. Tayama-san said with a wry smile. Since then, I try to use high-quality images, that is, those that have not been seen much, he said. The more deteriorated the image is, the more cursed it is. Mr. Tayama's smile was so overwhelming that I had no choice but to nod my head. After the meeting, I did not contact Mr. Tayama. In fact, I cannot remember his face or voice, even though we must have talked for such a long time. I have not heard from him since the offline meeting, but his words are still stuck in my ears. Because the more degraded something is, the more cursed it becomes. Every once in a while you see a blurry, horrifying image or a blurry screenshot on the internet. They are strangely rough, as if they have been dubbed over and over, and you can't tell who took them or what's on them. Whenever I see such degraded images, that word comes to mind. That in itself is now a curse. This is the end of this story. Thank you for listening to the end.